Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Adri. Good evening. Yeah. So in the last session we were discussing about the project preparation phase. So today we'll be continuing with the blueprint phase. This is the second phase in the SAP methodology. So SAP methodology blueprint phase also has certain activities, and as a consultant you would be involved from BPP phase. So let's see what the activities we have in the BPP phase in the SAP roadmap. CPPP document. The purpose of this phase is to achieve a common understanding of how the company intends to run SAP to support their business. That, as we already discussed, that say the objective of the company, that is Galaxy Pharma, and the objective of the implementation partner IBM should be the same. But because the company, why it's implementing SAP, it might be streamlining its supply chain management or to optimize their sales process. So they have some objective in implementing SAP. So that objective should be fulfilled with the implementation. So that to have a common understanding of the objective and preparing a blueprint. Okay, blueprint means it's like a standard document with a detailed documentation of the result gathered during the requirement workshop. So as a consultant, you will be involved in this phase. First, what you do is you prepare a scope document. Scope means what is possible, what is not possible, and how to implement SAP into the customer system. Okay, scope document is nothing but requirement gathering. So in the last phase, we have seen that all the consultants will be going either on-site or working as an on-site offshore model. So and the core users has been identified and consultants have been identified there to a project now. So my volume is very low.
Your voice is not clear actually. Some disturbance.
Some background.
Yeah, some background.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I hope now you can hear me clear, right?
Yes, but still some noise.
Okay. From my side, it's very clear. I'm sitting in a very quiet room. Just see,
Okay.
it's still there. We will try to rejoin. Okay. So once you go to the on-site, generally the first day of the work, the on-site you don't have any work. It would be any general orientation. So the general first day is only a client visit. So you might be visiting the client's plant, you might be visiting the guest house. So first day of the work is nothing, just an orientation. And see, this is a very important question also they ask in interviews. So what you have done in your first day of your project? So you can tell them that it was just an orientation about the client. We did not have that much work on the first day. From second day we have started the BBP activity. Okay, so from the second day onwards, we'll be starting a BBP activity. The first activity, what you'll be doing here is requirement gathering. That means you will be collecting the requirements from the core users. So suppose how many core users? Close to 6. From one from each module SD, that is SDM and PP like, and 6 consultants they suppose. So together 12 people. If I put all the 12 people in a single room, what happens? It's a big mess, right? So that's the reason what they do is either they arrange separate cabins or rooms for each module. Okay. So this is for SD, this is for MM, this is for PP, and this is for FI, like this. So that SD consultant and core user, MM consultant, core user, PP consultant, core user, FI consultant, core user. So like this, they are sitting in a room and discussing about the client's requirements. Okay. So client will be allocating separate rooms for each consultant, that means each module. So you'll be discussing there. So we already discussed that there is a core user. So core user means who is a core user? Anyone? Who is a core user? Who is the person?
End user.
There's a difference between actually core user and end user. End user means the guy who takes your order at POS, point of sale, that is you see in the big bazaar or Reliance stores. Okay, those guys are called as end users. Core user means he's like a what we call a general manager or a sales vice president, not vice president, sales manager, general manager, sales, like that. Okay, above end users. So core user is an employee with the company who is working since last 15 or 20 years and having good experience in the company. Okay, so this core user, as we told, that 15 years or 20 years experience, that means he's already having a lot of work to do in his project, right? Sorry, in his job, but still he need to spend some time here in the implementation. So that's the reason what they do is they fix some time, like say morning 10:30 to after 2 o'clock. Okay, 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the activity what the time which core user has to spend with the consultant for the requirement gathering. Okay, so everyday consultant has to go to the core user's place and ask the question. Okay, so very important entry question and the concept. So how you gather the requirements from the client? That means you will be asking face-to-face questions, one-to-one questions, like say what is your sales organization, what is your distribution, like this. It's not possible. Why? Because there will be thousands and thousands of questions and thousands of concepts you should understand from the user. So it's not possible practically to remember everything and ask manually. So the reason it's very important, they will ask in the interviews also how you gather the requirements from your core user. You see here how you gather the requirements from core user by using a questionnaire of entire business process. So let me show you that questionnaire. I hope I already shared those questionnaire with you guys through the G drive. So you can download it from the G drive. So Q&A DB. Okay, this is the question and answer DB or questionnaire. Using this as a consultant, you will be collecting the requirements from the core user. You see, topic wise, you'll be having tons of questions here. It's not practically possible for you to ask this, remember and ask these questions, everything. But still there are companies which don't provide this particular Q&A DB. In that case, it's consultant responsible to collect all the questions, whether, I don't know, whether you memorize it, whatever you do. Okay? It's your responsibility to get all these things. You can see here lots of questions, tons of questions. So there, so as a consultant, you'll be taking this document to the user and you'll be asking like this: is master data common across all departments? Yes or no? See, certain questions would be yes or no, or one word, or certain questions need more explanation. So you'll be taking everything as it is. You see, yes or no somewhere you need to have a detailed explanation. Okay, so like this. So I already shared you two sets of Q&A DB with you. You can use any one in your project. Okay. If your partner is providing the document, then that's fine. You can go with that. Or else you can make use of these documents. So this is field by field, topic by topic. You have a Q&A DB. Okay. So you'll be taking all the data like this. So in the interviews they will be asking, and in the real time also, if you go to an implementation project, they will be asking you, so how you gather the requirements from customers. So you can tell them that my company has provided me a Q&A DB. So with that we used to put a question and collect the answer. Okay. So when you collect the answer, what you need to do, you need to first, okay, so see here we have discussed that every day the requirement gathering time is between 10:30 to 2 p.m. right? Only this time the core user will be spending with you to share. Okay. So as a consultant, what you will be doing after 2 p.m. Okay, so core user, he will go back to his work and he will be doing his work. But as a consultant, what you'll be doing here, that is, you'll be preparing as is document. Okay, you will be preparing as is document. The name itself tells as is means as it is, at present as it is. So as you collect the requirements from the company, that is a user, so what you do, every day consultant has to go to the core user place and ask the questions, and whatever the core user explains, you need to write it down as it is, no change in the word. Why? Because if your scope is wrong, your implementation will be wrong. So first you should understand and write whatever customer says as it is. So every day after completion of requirement gathering, say suppose some 10 to 3 p.m. like this, you fix a time. So what as a consultant you should do, you should prepare an as is document. Okay, So what is an as-is document? Understanding the business process from the core team based on the inputs as-is document has to be created according to module wise you will be doing. Okay. So in the as-is document, it tells, okay, as-is document tells the present business process of client without SAP. Without SAP, how client is running his business. That all he explains to you. Okay. So whatever core user explained to you, you need to mention that in the document. Based upon the questionnaire provided by the implementation partner or you gather, you will be covering the requirements. So let me show you a BBP document and as is to be so that you'll have some idea. And I also shared this BBP with you already. So generally BBP will be like this, business blueprinting document. This company says, you take this company which is in Hyderabad, has implemented 5 modules. You can see here they have implemented FI, MM, sales and distribution, production planning, and HR. They have implemented 5 modules. So out of that, our interest is sales and distribution, so I have extracted that document specifically and I have shared with you guys. So BBP SD, so this 80 pages is nothing, 60 pages is for only SD. You see here, this is as is. First you need to prepare an as is document. Basing upon the as is, you need to prepare a to be document. What is a to be document? It's nothing but how customer wants this standard business in SAP. That means mapping of customer's requirement into SAP is called as a to be document. Okay, yeah. So once you prepare the BPP document, what you need to do, you need to take a sign off. Okay, in a BBP document you have to, what is that? As is and to be. So in the first session or sometime I am telling this scenario to you, right? That is, your customer tells you that my customers will walk into the store, come to the pick the goods, come to the counter, pay the bill, take the bill, and along with the goods they leave the premise. So what is that process is called as? He has not used any technical word here, but as a consultant you should understand that, okay, this is a cash sales, and coming to be, I can map it like this. That is, in standard SAP I have a document for cash sales, that is CS, and I have a delivery type BV, and in a billing type BV, and shipping condition is 10. So with these configurations I can configure a cash sales process into SAP. Okay, as is to be. You gather requirement first with a questionnaire DB. After that, depending upon your understanding of the document, you prepare an as is document. As is nothing but the standard business of customer without an SAP. To be means you will map this customer's business into SAP. That's called as to be document. And together as is to be is called as a BBP document. There is no separate as is document or to be document. There is only one document that's called as BBP document. BBP document consists of as is and to be. Okay, as is and to be are the contents of BBP document. And this is the BBP. You can see here they have put everything here, everything. You see how they want to call the sales organization, distribution channels, everything. So in coming sessions you will understand this BBP well, the guys who don't have idea of sales and distribution. Okay, so I already shared these documents, you can go through them. Okay, so let's see the next one. Okay, once you finish the BBP, you'll be taking a sign off. Okay, after completing the requirements gathering, you'll be preparing a BBP document, and after preparing a BBP document, you'll be taking a sign off. Okay, so whenever you are doing this as is to be, okay, whenever you are doing this as is to be, you'll be finding gaps because what is as is, this is customers present business process, and now you want this present business process to map into SAP, but certain times it may not be fixed exactly here. Say suppose, let me give you one example. uh, your customer says that in my customer master data I want customer's PAN number, but you don't have this PAN number option in customer master in SAP. Your customer says that I want to print 6 lines of address, but SAP allows only 4 lines of address in standard. So these all are called as SAP. That means, as we already discussed, SAP system comes only 60 to 70% suitable to any industry. Next 30 to 20 to 30% you need to enhance, or you need to customize according to client's requirement. So whichever is not possible in the standard SAP is called as gap, and you need to handle it as it is separate. Okay. So when you will identify gaps, for sure they ask this question in the interviews. Okay, at what phase of the implementation project did you identify the gaps, and what gaps you identified in your project? Okay, what gaps you worked on? So they will be getting a lot of questions like this. Okay, so to be document consists of how the present business of the clients is going to be in SAP, and while you're preparing a to be document, then you'll find gaps. What is a gap? For a client business process, if there is no solution in the standard SAP, then it's called as a gap. So when you find a gap as a consultant, what's your job? So when you find a gap, you need to prepare a gap analysis document, which is also called as a fit gap analysis document. Okay, so whenever you find a gap as a consultant, what you should do is, the best approach what you should do is, see, I was telling that, okay, we can get an ABAPer and develop or customize. You can do anything with ABAPer, but that's not a right approach. Why? Because if you pull an ABAPer, that is nothing but it's going to cost more to the customer, and customer don't appreciate spending lots of money, right? So if you find a gap as a customer, as a good consultant, what you should do is, first you should check whether in standard SAP with some customizations or some configuration changes I can meet this requirement or not. Or second, you should search for some alternative solutions. Okay, if you could not find this both, then only you should go with an ABAPer. Okay, directly you should not sell saying that, okay, we'll get an ABAPer and develop it. Okay, why? Because if you're pulling an ABAPer, then it costs a lot to the customer. Okay, so first, as a good if you're a good consultant, then what you should do is, first you need to check with the standard configuration or with some customizations whether it's possible within the standard itself or not, and later if it's not possible, then you should search for some any alternative solutions. Okay, then it's not possible, then only you should go for the ABAP development. Okay, so you should prepare a fit gap analysis document. The gap analysis document consists of the clear description of the client process and why it is a gap, and if there is no alternative solution, then what? Okay, so if yes, then what is the alternative solution? If you don't have an alternate solution, then what to do? So if you are going for a development, then what is the estimated efforts for the development? What is the functional mandates and what is the technical mandates? So once if our customer approves, okay, go ahead and develop, then what you do? You prepare a functional specification document. Okay, and you send it to an ABAPer, and ABAPer will develop a technical specification document, take the approvals and start developing the code. Okay, so after preparing the BBP document, you will be sending that for a core user sign off. That means you need to go through the complete document and he will be giving you a sign off. Without sign off, you are freezing. No new requirement will be accepted. If once a sign off is given, no new requirement will be accepted. So if there is no sign off, what happens? Customer tells, okay, do this, do this, do this. He will be changing all the time, so it will become a never-ending project. So you need to freeze the requirements. So you need to collect the uh, all the requirements and sign it off. Okay, so once you send the BBP document, after preparing the BBP document, you send it to the core user to sign off. So once you send the document to the core user for sign off, what he do? He thoroughly go through the BBP document. If everything is fine, he will send a confirmation to the consultant. After getting the confirmation mail, as a consultant, it's your responsibility to get signatures on all the document. You will be taking a duplicate or triplicate copies. One you will be sending to the customer, one you will be keeping with the company, and one with the consultant. Okay, so your project manager will sign, you should sign, your team manager should sign. So everyone will sign on the document. Let me show you. So this is a BBP document. You can see here these boxes. FI project coordinators and the vertical head. FI, these all boxes is nothing but signatures. As an SD consultant, you should do signature here. Okay, so like this, your designation, everything will be putting here. So that's what, as a consultant, your role is. Once the BPP document is finalized, you should get everything signed, and then you need to send it to the customer, one copy with the company and one copy with you. Okay, so without sign off, we are not supposed to move to the next phase of SAP methodology. And very important interview question: where did you had? They'll ask in interviews like, how many times you have taken a sign off in the implementation project. So remember, this is the first sign off what you have taken. Generally, we take two sign offs in the implementation project. The first sign off is this one, BBP sign off. Later, we will see what is the second sign off. Okay. So BBP preparation document, generally it may take 3 months to 6 months depending upon the project size, whether it's in domestic or international, a lot of things. And see, throughout the project you will be spending more time in the BBP phase. Why? Because this is where the core phase of the implementation project. Why? Because this phase is most critical, because the success of your project depends upon how accurate you gather the requirements from the customer. Okay, how accurate you gather, that quick and in that timeline you can finish the project. If you ask something, he told something, then you don't know where the project goes on. Okay, so if any time if you feel that this project is not going in right direction, then again you'll come back and refer to this scope document, nothing but BBP document. Why? Because again you want to check whether all the requirements what you gathered is correct or not. Okay, so that's the reason you spend more time in this phase, and it's a very critical phase. Okay, so in the BBP documents we prepare two documents, that is BBP document and gap analysis document. Very important, for sure they ask in the interviews, what documents you prepared in the BBP phase. Okay, what documents you prepared in the BBP phase, they for sure ask this question. Okay, so you prepare BBP document and gap analysis document in BBP phase. Okay, and one more question very frequently they ask in the interviews is, what common problems you faced in the BPP phase? Okay, what common problems you face in the BPP phase? You cannot say no. Okay, I haven't faced any problem. You cannot say no. Why? Because every consultant will face different problems in BBP phase. Why? Because see, we are discussing that uh, a core user has been assigned, right? Who is a core user? He's already a senior manager. He has lots of work to do in his office. Okay, but he need to spend time here also, so he may not be coming on time. He might be coming at 1 o'clock and leaving by 2 o'clock, or sometimes core user also having some SD knowledge already. Then what he do, he tests your knowledge. Okay, he will test your knowledge, or sometime he will tell that how to do this, how to do, he will try to increase his knowledge. Okay, so you'll be facing some common problems in the implementation project. Okay, so if you face a problem, how you should handle as a consultant, for sure they ask these questions. How you handle the problems what you faced in the BBP phase. So how you handle these problems, you cannot directly tell the core user saying that, hey man, why you are not coming on time, please come on time. Okay, you cannot tell that to him. Why? Because he's a senior person. So if you face any issue with the core user, first you need to report that to your project manager, and your project manager will talk to the other project manager. That means the other company. What is that? uh, IBM's sorry, Galaxy Pharma's project manager. So just a minute, excuse me. Okay. Okay, so you cannot tell him, hey, come on time or something like this. So if you have some issue, why? Because sometimes they may not cooperate, they may not share exact requirements. Why? Because as we already discussed, it's a critical phase. If you don't gather your requirements correct, then your project is going to fail. So that's the reason, uh, when you face an issue, first you need to report that to your project manager, so that your project manager will talk to the client's project manager and he will guide him. Okay, So that's what the approach should be if you face some issue with the project manager. Okay. So I have given here some common problems what you'll be facing so that you can go through them, and if they ask in the interviews, did you face any issues, you can tell them. Okay. So once you receive the BBP sign-off, as we already discussed, without a BBP sign-off, you are not supposed to move to the next phase. So if you receive the BBP sign-off, you will be moving to the next phase of ASAP methodology, that is realization phase. Okay. So so in the second phase, that is BBP phase, you will be doing all the documentation work. You will not work on the system. So when you first touch the system, this is the phase first you log in into your config client, that is realization phase. Only in the realization phase you start logging into the your config client, that means into the SAP server. Now you will get the access to the config client, and you'll be logging in and you'll be doing the configurations. So configurations, again, we have two kinds of configuration, that is baseline configuration, which is a major scope, and final configuration, which is a remaining scope. Okay. So baseline, so this question was asked for my trainee very recently. What is baseline configuration? Okay. So baseline configuration is nothing but it's a module specific configuration. That means as a SD consultant, you will be doing complete SD configurations. FI consultant will be doing complete FI configurations. Consultant will be doing configurations. That means in baseline configurations, you need not to depend upon any other modules. You can do your own configurations first. Okay, that's what the baseline configuration is. That's a major scope what you do. Final configuration, nothing but it's an integration. Why? Because SAP is an ERP, so it needs integration. So you'll be doing integrations, like say, let's take some example like integration with SD, that's in a availability check, or SD with FI, that is revenue account determination or credit management. Like this, there are integrations which you need to do. Okay. So baseline scope talks about only that particular module configurations. Okay, so realization phase, here you have a BBP document that you have a 2B. 2B means you know what to do in the SAP system for that client. Why? Because with the understanding of as is at present what client's business is, you prepared the other document called as 2B. 2B means how it should be in the SAP system. So basing upon the BBP 2B document, you configure client's business process into SAP. And in this is the phase first you log in into the development server. Okay, you get the login credentials to log into the config client. So we have here baseline configuration and final configuration. Okay, so baseline configuration, it is a configuration which we don't depend on other module consultants, that is module specific configurations. And final configuration, it's nothing but integration between the modules like PP, FI, it can be anything. Okay, so say suppose, okay, you are doing some presentation in your organization. So what you do once you complete your you are preparing a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation. What you do once you finish? Anyone? Once you finish preparing your document, what you do?
We'll ask the questions if anyone has any question.
No. While preparing the document itself, not giving presentation. Say suppose you are
Okay.
preparing your resume. What you do last? You save it, right? With a meaningful name.
Yes.
With a meaningful name, you save it. Okay. Like that in SAP, whenever you're doing some configuration, you have to save it. Okay. That means how you will save it? You will save with a number called TR number. We discussed in the earlier sessions when we were discussing landscape. Transport request number with some meaningful description. This is what the number will help you to transport the configurations from one server to other server. Okay, so you see this is the request number, this is how it looks, and this is the CTS system, change in transport system. You see transport request moving from one server to other server, and you can see here this is the request number and short description, creating of sales organization. So you'll be giving a meaningful description for this number so that you can move the configuration from one server to other server. Okay, so this anyway I'll show you once we start configuring into the SAP system how the CTS looks. Okay, so let's go ahead now. We have little freshers here, so they may not be understanding if I take into the deep also. Okay, So after after completion of your baseline configuration and final configuration, you transport entire conf request to the development to quality server. Okay. Okay. So this is most important entry question. As a functional consultant, what is your role in transporting the request? Okay. Request. Why? Because basis consultant will be doing the actual transportation with the transaction code STMS. But as a functional consultant, what is your role? That means first, you can see here, this is called as parent request and this is called as child request. Madhuri and Vinod, you might be knowing, right?
Change request.
Yeah, you have seen this, releasing the
Uh,
request.
Yes, yes, this I have seen.
Right?
But there is also one workbench request also, na, apart from DR.
Yeah, that is totally different. We have two requests. Now we
Hmm.
can see here in the below. You can see here. You see, customizing requests and workbench requests. Okay, but generally a request will have parent request and a child request. You can see the tree. Parent. Okay. So as a consultant, what is your role is first you need to release the entire request. Okay, that means each request consists of parent and child. First you need to release the child request, then you need to release the parent request. Why? Because as a consultant, if you release, then only a basis consultant can transfer the request from one server to other server. If not, he cannot transfer it. Okay, you need to release it. So as a consultant, what you do, you release them, you take that numbers, you see here this number UED K909 something, this number. Okay, you take that number and put it in an Excel sheet with along with a meaningful description and in a sequence, and send this file to the basis consultants, so that once basis consultant get the approval from the project manager, he'll be transferring from one server to other server. So as a consultant, if they ask in interviews as a consultant, what is your role in the transport request, then you should tell that first we release the requests, then we put all the request numbers and with a meaningful description in the Excel sheet and send it to the basis consultant. So he will be transporting the request from one server to other server. You should tell in that way. And see, transport requests will be in two ways, that is customizing requests and workbench request. You see here it's saying that customizing request. Okay, so let's see what's the difference between customizing request and workbench request. As a functional consultant, whatever you save will be stored in customizing request. Okay, as a functional consultant, whatever you save will be stored in customizing request. As an ABAPer, as a technical consultant, whatever they save will be stored in workbench request. Okay, so functional consultant as a SD consultant, whatever you save, it will be stored in customizing requests, and whatever the ABAPer saves, the technical consultant will be stored in the workbench request. So what's the difference between workbench request and what's the other one? Customizing request. Yeah, you see here, what are the configurations as a functional consultant you do, that would be stored here. Okay, what is the difference between these two is customizing request is a client independent and workbench request is a cross client, that is client independent. That means, say suppose this is a development server, in this we have clients, right? This is config client, this is technical client, nothing but development client. The next is unit testing client, and next is a sandbox client. All customizing request, whatever you do in the config client as a functional consultant, will be stored only within this client, only within this client. But all workbench requests are cross client. That means if the developer saves something in workbench request, the changes will be affected in all the clients. Okay, which is called as cross client or client independent. They'll ask in the interviews, what is cross client, what is client independent, or what is workbench request. Okay, so customizing request is a client independent and workbench request is a cross client. Okay, so after transporting the request from development server to quality server, you need to do the testing. Okay, again testing is classified into two. One is unit testing and one is integration testing. Unit testing means the name itself tells unit, that is module specific. Module specific testing is called as unit testing. Integration testing means as an ERP you have a lot of modules and it should work in sync between all the modules and departments. So that's called as integration testing. So unit testing is a testing which is specific to one module and you need not to depend upon any other module consultants. But if it's an integration, if it's an integration testing, it's a testing for which you need to depend upon other module consultants. So anyway, this testing will be done by professional testers. If your company is big, project is big, you'll be having a professional testers, they will be doing. But some companies will ask consultants themselves to do the testing. Okay. So as a consultant, what is your role in the testing? Okay. So as a consultant, what is your role in the testing? That is nothing but before testing, as a consultant, you need to prepare test case documents. You might be knowing, right? What is the test case documents? That means a test case documents, this is the contents, that is what to test, how to test, what is the expected result, and what is the actual result, and what is the status document. That means that whether the testing has been passed or failed, and tested document number. These are the contents what you'll be having in a test case document, and you should prepare this test case document and give it to the tester so that he will test and prepare this, fill in this all things. Okay. So you see here testing means what? If you give some input, the output should be desired output. That means what you're expecting. You can see in, out, in, out, in, out in the OTC process. This is the testing. So once you complete the testing, you prepare documents. Okay, multiple documents like user manual document, config document, FS document you'll be creating. So user manual document. So what's a user manual document? Let me show you. I already shared this through Google Drive. So user manual document means, say suppose you buy a laptop, you buy a TV, you get some user manual, right? What is user manual is all about? How to use that product, right? So what is the ways to use the product and how to use the product. Likewise, you implemented SAP, now all the configurations and everything has been tested. That means user should know, right, how to use these things. Suppose say in any bank or anything, if they hire someone, what they do, they give a training for 1 week or 2 weeks, how to use their system, how to entry and how to perform the transactions and everything. So how you can do? By giving some user manual. So this is user manual will be used by the end users. That means in the big brother, the guys who is taking your orders, they should know, right, how to create an order, how to enter the item, how to, if suppose you cancel an item, how to delete an item, they should know. So that it's like something like that. So an user manual you will be creating. So how to access that? By screenshots, field by field, you will be giving the values, and this is a complete user document, where to click, what values to enter, and how to save. Okay, you see, like this you prepare a user manual document and you send it to the customers so that they can practice following this document and they can be perfect in creating the transactions. Apart from this, you will be also creating one more document which is called as configuration document. What is a configuration document? See, in our discussion, who is our implementation partner? Anyone?
IBM.
Who's that? IBM, right? IBM is our implementation partner, but it is not sure that IBM will, Galaxy Pharma will give this project, once the SAP is implemented, the support and maintenance, it's not sure that it will give to IBM, it may give to TCS or Capgemini. Okay, so how these consultants in TCS will support this Galaxy Pharma project? Why? Because they don't know what they have done, what configurations they have done, what business process they have configured. So they don't know anything about what is the implementation of Galaxy Pharma, right? So how they will understand this? Through the config documents. So as a consultant, whatever you configured, if in IBM for Galaxy Pharma, you need to prepare a config documents, so that these config documents will help as a KT for the consultants who is working in TCS tomorrow to support this project. So let me show you complete config documents. You see, and you guys, Madhuri and Vinod, you can straight away start using these documents in your real time also. It will be very handy for you. Okay, you see topic wise you'll be having complete document, screenshot wise. This is exactly again same as the user manual, screenshot wise, and what values to enter, what not to enter, where to click, and everything. You see, everything will be there. So how to create everything will be created as a config document. So this is how you prepare a document and give it to the company, so that tomorrow when they hand over this project to TCS, your core user in the Galaxy Pharma will hand over all these documents to the consultants who is working in TCS, so that they can go through these documents and do a system study, and they can understand, and later they can support Galaxy Pharma. Okay, and you also prepare a functional specification document. What is functional specification document? It's nothing but the gaps what you identified, or any new enhancements what is not handled at this implementation. You prepare an FS document and give it a paper for development. Okay, so what documents we prepared in the BBP phase? Anyone? What documents we prepared at the BBP phase?
BBB document and gap analysis document.
BBP and gap analysis, right? Coming to the realization, you create user manual document and config document. Okay, very important. They ask this question hundreds of times. I have seen in asking this question in interviews, like what documents you prepared in the implementation project. Okay, so these are the documents you prepare. Okay, so once you hand over the user manual, but how they will know how to use it? You need to give some training, right? So that is in the final preparation. Final preparation means anything left out, some testings, user acceptance testings. So lot of things will be there here. See, unit testing, integration testing, user testing, cutover activities, lot of things. Okay. So in the final preparation, the first activity what you'll do is you give the training to core user. Okay. See, and very important entry question coming to the interviews also, they ask you to whom you have given the training. Okay, to whom you have given the training. So you don't give, see, generally orders, this transactions master data is created by the end users who you see in the big bazaar, but you don't give training directly to them. Why? Because in one branch you might be having 30 end users, right? Just imagine, as a consultant you training these guys. Why? Because you don't know their language, they don't know your language. Coming to that means technical. Okay, technically you can understand, you don't understand, they don't understand what you are saying, and they don't understand what you are saying. Okay, so you don't directly give training to the end users. To whom you give the training? To core users. Why? Because core user is well educated and he has good idea of business, so he can understand what these guys is talking, and he can understand what these guys is talking. So you give training to core user, then core user will give training to the end users. Okay, so in the interviews if they ask you this question like to whom you give the training, you should tell that to core users. Okay, so this is called as train the trainer concept. That means you train first core user, then he will train them. So train the trainer. Okay, so train the trainer. So we give training to core user approximately 15 days. After that he will take another 15 days to give the training to the end users. And after training is finished, he will be giving the UAT sign off, as we already discussed, user acceptance test. This user acceptance is nothing but he will be going to, why? Because see, you configured everything in the system and you tested and you are saying that everything is fine. But who is the ultimate person to say it's correct? That is nothing but the user who is going to use it tomorrow, right? He is to tell, yeah, all the requirements and business process is working correct and everything is fine. So if he says that, he need to give you a user acceptance test. Okay, so after training you'll be asking the core user to test all the scenarios, okay, and confirm whether everything is working perfect. So approximately 10 to 15 days he will take time and if everything is fine, then he will be giving a UAT sign off to you. Okay, and throughout the implementation project you take two sign offs. One is BBP sign off, and at that time I told you, right, we will be seeing second sign off, that is nothing but UAT sign off. Very important interview question they should be asking in the interview. So how many sign offs you have taken in your implementation project? That is two, BBP sign off and UAT sign off. So once everything is finished, UAT sign off is done and any left out is done and everything is done. Now what you do, you move you move all the configurations from Q&A server to production server, that means live environment. This is called as cutover activities. Okay, cutover activities means moving legacy data from legacy to SAP. Legacy means which is a non-SAP system. Yes, customer might be using some Oracle ERP until now. Okay, this is called as legacy system. So moving data from legacy system to SAP system is called as cutover activities. So you'll be doing the cutover activities here. So quality to production. After the sign off, you'll be moving all the configurations from quality to production. Then after you'll be doing cutover activities, that is nothing but you will be uploading all the master data as open transactions from legacy system to SAP system. Legacy means what? It's a non-SAP system. So very important interview question and the concept also you should learn. That is, what are the activities as a consultant you perform at the cutover activities? As a consultant, what is your role in the cutover activities? Okay. So as a consultant, what you do, you list out what all master data to be transported and all the open transactions. What do you mean by open transactions? That means the subsequent action has not been finished. You create an order, but you haven't delivered it. Or you delivered the products, but you haven't invoiced it. Okay. Say suppose in this system, you create a delivery. After this, what you should do, you should invoice the customer. Okay. Say suppose if you don't transport this data to SAP, that means you will never know that you should raise invoice to customer for a delivery which is already done. Why? Because this data is not transported from here to here. So you should also transport all the open transactions from legacy to next SAP system. So this is called as open transactions. Okay, open transactions means open order. That means the order which is created but not yet delivered or pending. So for this, what you will be doing is you will be creating with the help of ABAP. See, the migration of this data you can do it with the two tools, there are two inbuilt SAP tools, which is called as LSMW, Legacy System Migration Workbench, or BDC, Batch Data Communication. With this help of these two tools, you can transport data from a legacy system to SAP system. And let me show you how the data looks. As a consultant, you will not have access to this data, but what you should do is you should prepare this header. You should prepare this header with the names and the description and fields, and you should send it to the core user, this Excel sheet, so that he will fill in all this data. Why? Because as a consultant, never you will have an access to the customer's data. You see, ship to party data, credit data, price data, finished goods material data, lot of data. So this all data what you will take and upload it to the SAP system. Okay, you'll upload the SAP system. First you do a test run, mock run with the 5 or 10 sample data, and everything is fine, then you upload complete data. Okay, cutover strategy. Why we are calling it strategy means this all thing involves lot of effort and sensibility. Why? Because some data is missing, or some data is wiped out, or some if the system crash, it's a huge loss to the companies. So you take some strategies in the cutover activities. You identify the blackout period, and why? Because say in the interview sometimes they ask you, I have 1 million records, how much time it will take to transport it from legacy to migration? So don't go by the figure like 1 million, 10 million. It will take hardly 2 days. Okay, with the help of these tools, it will take hardly 2 days to transport any data. Okay, in the cutover strategy, what you will do is you will be doing the planning for uploading the legacy data to SAP, and during this strategy, you decide when to exactly upload the legacy data to SAP. Why? Because if I do that in weekdays, what happens? During this period, that is the legacy data migration period, it's called as a blackout period. Blackout period means no transaction should be performed in the organizations. You should tell the company to completely shut off its all activities for that period. Why? Because there will be an inconsistency. Say suppose you are migrating data, but some user has created an order here. It will not be transported, right? So you'll ask them to not to do any transaction during this blackout period. So that's the reason generally they do Saturday midnight to Monday afternoon. They hardly lose one half day. It's manageable. Okay. So you plan something like this. Okay. Exactly to upload the data, when to upload, how to upload. Okay. And you'll be asking the client to stop all the business transactions. The reason is to avoid the data inconsistency. And they will be asking you in the interviews, what is cutover strategy, what is cutover period. Okay. So what is cutover period? Generally the time taken to upload the data, which is called as a blackout period. Okay. That's called as cutover activities or cutover period. Okay. So once this cutover period is done and all the data has been now in the SAP system, so now configurations are there in SAP system, data is in SAP system. So users can start using SAP for creating transactions from today. Okay. So that is nothing but go live. Your go live has been done. Okay. So the next phase is go live and support phase. That's nothing but here you will be doing multiple activities, and in the interviews also they ask this terminology. So be informed with these terminologies. It's like hypercare, early watch. Okay, they might be asking these terminologies. What is hypercare? What is early watch? Okay, so it's nothing but what you do in the go live. You set up a help desk system and you optimize the performance of the system, and any issues you fix it there itself. Okay, so handling over SAP to the client, you hand over the SAP to client and he is starting using the transactions, entering the day-to-day transactions, but you would be providing some support which is called as post-production support for 3 months or 4 months depending upon the project what you are working on. So once the post-production support is done, then customer is free to either give the same project to IBM for support or maintenance, or give it to other company. It can be anything. Okay, so that's a go live. In go live, what you do, you optimize the system, you monitor each and every transaction, whether every transaction is creating correctly or not, and you set up a help desk to communicate with the customers. So these are the activities what you do in the go live phase. Okay, so we just finished discussing about the implementation project, and I request you for the weekend, your exercise is to read this completely and finish off these interview questions. Why? Because see, week on week you will be adding not less than 200 to 300 interview questions every week. So 1 week if you put something pending, you will be having a burden of to learn concept plus 300 to 400 interview questions. So finish everything by the weekend. So I already shared you the documents, I'll share you the video, and so for this weekend your activity is to finish off completely this particular implementation project, and you should be able to answer any question if I ask from this document. Okay, all the 63 questions you should be in a position to answer. Okay, so any questions for today, anyone? So Monday we will start support, hardly one day we will finish, and from Tuesday we will be start discussing about the SAP. Yeah, go ahead. Any questions, Vinod? Madhuri?
Hello.
Yeah, Madhuri.
So actually, during this class, you will be teaching standard business process like third-party scenarios.
Yes.
Apart from that,